Welcome to my daily review. You're looking at a daily chart of the Nasdaq. Today is Thursday, July 17th, and the index was up 153 points or 0.74%. Three quarters of a percent, volume a little bit above the average. I saw a lot of low price stocks making new highs today on massive volume. So, the dollar stocks that trade, 500 million shares, that kind of drives up the Nasdaq volume. So kind of disregard the volume. I do want to point out that the Nasdaq is 6.7% above the 50 and just trending along the five there. I have it on the five for the index. So a lot of the leading stocks are trending the five and the index is trending on the five. So, close at an all-time high today and hit 20,911. So, it's just trending higher. We're grinding higher. There's nothing to do with a lot of your winning or leading stocks that you're holding. If you're holding Robinhood or Palantir, they're just, grinding higher on a daily basis. So, yeah, that's kind of one of the harder things to do for, people who like to tinker around like me. I don't like to tinker that much. I'd rather golf, but if you're holding winners, you just kind of got to let them work a little bit, and I'm going to go through a bunch of leading stocks. Uh, First, I'm going to get off the index here. I'm going to try to make a shorter video. I said that yesterday and it was 38 minutes long. So I'm really going to try to go through these things quickly today. Google has been on our ready list all week. It's up every day, but not really doing much. It had this 3 weeks tight area, and that's kind of one of the reasons why I put it on the ready list. But it's up nearly 2%. It's okay, but it's just let me see. How is it in comparison to the Nasdaq on the weekly? The Nasdaq's up 1.45% and Google's up 1.8% or something. Yeah, 1.9. So, outperforming the index barely. And that's kind of what you get when you buy these big behemoths. You're not going to get these big 10, 20% moves in a day or a week. Microsoft, having another, nice session, just grinding higher. They're going to report here pretty soon. So things are likely to change. But for now, just grinding higher, making a new high today at 513. And the last one is NVIDIA because the whole world's talking about NVIDIA. I don't know. I'm just kind of like a sheep just following along. But yeah, I made a new high today. Closed at 173. I saw an all-time closing high there for NVIDIA. So that's enough of that nonsense. This morning we heard some earnings calls from Pepsi, which the market liked, right? This thing's been in a huge downtrend, right? So kind of like maybe some short covering here in the news. Man, that is a massive downtrend. So maybe it's found its bottom and it's going to start trending higher, still below the 200, but a nice 7.5% pop for Pepsi. CTAS, this is one of those uniform linen, and then the results were about the same. You can see they do 8%, 7%, 8%. They're very steady sales growth, but it popped nearly 4% there on pretty much a basic earnings report. Maybe not much was expected, but not bad. The one that I was interested in was Taiwan Semiconductor. I thought this was going to really boost AMD and NVIDIA, and I showed you NVIDIA earlier, and AMD, they really didn't do that much, but this is up nearly 3.5%, making new highs. Taiwan Semiconductor, very strong move. Abbott Labs, not as fortunate here, fell off 8%. I'm not really sure why. I mean, they kind of have the same report every quarter, but this quarter, I don't know. I didn't really get into it. I didn't see if they lowered guidance or anything, but it's probably the reason for that. That's a nasty slice of the 200. Travelers reported up 4%. This is just consolidating in a base, and you could see it's been consolidating for like, how long has it been? Yeah, almost 2 years here. So Travelers going nowhere fast. And the last one is Novartis. I was interested in the Novartis um, report because they have a RMS drug, and it was Kesimpta, and it had 33% year-over-year sales growth. And the report from the overall report from Novartis was pretty good here. You're looking at 12 to 15% sales growth, 27 to 23% earnings growth, pretty steady growth. But the stock sliced its 50, and you get a lot of wonky moves around earnings reports. And so the reason why I'm interested in the MS is because I own TG Therapeutics, and if their Kesimpta is selling that well, they talked about strong demand and the global demand and blah blah blah, and so this company has a better product, although not as broadly administered, but still, I think it bodes well for TG. Anyway, that's it for that earnings. I do have to mention that Lucid and Uber had a deal. Good for Lucid, up 36% on the deal. And, they're manufactured in Casa Grande, Arizona, which is about, I don't know, a half hour, 45 minutes south of Phoenix. And nice, huge manufacturing plant there. These are like $150,000 electric vehicles, high end, I think they go about 600 miles on a charge. They're very nice. I see a lot of them around town here, because the plant's so close, and or because people like spending money, blowing money on EVs. I don't know why, but I do see a lot of them around here, and they're nice cars. They're just super expensive. So Uber's taken a shot at Lucid for, I guess, the high-end clientele. I don't know why, but Lucid, it spiked 36% on the deal. So sell that spike. All right, I'm just going to get to some leading stocks. I'm going to try to get through these things quickly. I've got to go through the crypto names because the House passed three crypto bills today, and it was sell the news for the most part on a lot of these crypto names that have been ripping hard, like the Ethereum stocks. But Robinhood, this is more diversified, not just tethered to, crypto. It's a platform, and it was up 2% today, closed at an all-time high, hit 106.64. And this one, once again, like the Nasdaq, just grinding higher, right? We're in a total melt-up mode here with a lot of these leading stocks. So Robinhood, I looked this morning, member asked me how much I owned of Robinhood, and it was more than I thought. So I'm gonna have to stop buying Robinhood, but an easy hold for me. That one looks good. Coinbase, another one, just grinding higher on the five. And nothing to do here, up 3%. Just hold it and watch your money grow with Coinbase. MicroStrategy, not so much. It's I think I had this in our ready list last week, not this week. But yeah, it broke out here. Now it's going flat. So I'm starting to get interested in this one again if it wants to hang out there around 450. Doesn't look too bad. MicroStrategy, they've been spending a lot of money on, they're selling stock and then buying Bitcoin. And so with that, I got to bring up, what is this? SharpLink Gaming. This is, they announced after the close today a $5 billion stock buyback. Not stock buyback, hello, secondary offering. So they're going to sell stock, which, is dilutive. They only have 58 million in their float. They're going to sell 5 million and buy Ethereum. So this is a play on Ethereum. It's up after hours. I don't know. It's up a lot this week. If I go back to the weekly, sorry for toggling back and forth. I just have to point out that it was up more than 70% for the week. It pulled back today, but still up 68% for the week with massive volume, record volume. So somebody's buying this stock. It's not Aunt Stella or whoever, Aunt Sally, Aunt Sue. Somebody likes this stock, and yeah, they had a $5 billion secondary offering. So we'll see how that it handles it tomorrow and next week. But I think this one's going higher after some of the noise calms down. It's all right. I'm going to move on. And I'm going to go to the space Rocket Lab, AST, Space Mobile. These stocks are on a roll. And like I said, you only have to own one of them. Like you only need one crypto stock, you only need one space stock, you only need one energy stock, one software, one hardware, one fintech, one drug stock. I don't like to get too crazy, overloading in one group. But this one sure is performing well. ASTS made a new high at 54 and then pulled back to the 21 and found support. And that's what you want to see on a bounce, pull back to a moving average and bouncing, which once again, I've got to go back to my crowd strike. This is just completely squatting on the job here. Very upsetting for people who own CrowdStrike. But yeah, it's going to bounce at some point, right? I mean, we're in a bull market, we're in a strong uptrend, and this thing, yeah, I mean, this is performing worse than after their earnings report. So I don't know what's going on here with CrowdStrike. It needs to bounce. Not doing it this week. Cybersecurity stocks are not in vogue this week. Anyway, I digress because I was talking about the space stocks and Rocket Lab. This one's blasting off into space, man. These things are just these are momentum plays. I know I posted charts today. ASTS is the one that I own, but I did post this one and people coming back at me hard, like they don't have any, earnings or losing money, blah, blah, blah. And I get it. I get that. This is a total momentum play. This is a heat play. This thing is on our list that I post every morning at mcstockcharts.com. And if you find a stock on that relative strength list and on the ready list, that's a good combination right there. But this thing is nowhere near being ready to buy. This thing's totally extended from its 5 EMA here. Yeah, 11%. That's a little too rich for me, but very strong stock. And when you get these little pullbacks here, these little pullbacks back to the 5, that's when you're buying, not when they're up like this. You sell these rips here. Anyway, that's how I would play it. I wouldn't be buying that stuff up there. It's just way too hot. JOBY is another one of these air taxis or whatever. This seems to be the winner of this group, 8.5% move today. That thing is going into outer space as well. But Archer, now this one is more, consolidating within a base. You can see that 1392 is the high. So if we look at the weekly chart here, yeah, how many weeks is this? Yeah, 9 weeks. That's a decent little base for Archer. And I would be much more interested, if I'm looking to buy into this group, I'd be much more interested in that than this. This is just a little too warm for me. But ASTS, Rocket Lab, I mean, they're all just performing really strong. So yeah, the space, the drones, but I'm not going to get into it. I just got to move on. GEV, this is my second largest holding as I look today. Um, a member, like I said, reminded me, and I own a little more than I thought of GEV and Robinhood because they grow, right? When you buy it here, it's 10%, and then it grows like this, and it becomes more than 10%. And that's a good problem to have, but you should probably be trimming, like I trimmed some ASTS today because it's just getting too hot for me, up 9% in a day. I don't know how much it is this week, but you got to trim a little. Then this is a philosophical um, deal because we're dealing with, this is art, not science, with these names that are just ripping so high. I would rather sell too early than too late because we know how, it's the stairs up and the elevator down. Well, I don't want to get caught in the elevator. And I understand, you ride that trend till it bends at the end. But when they start becoming too big of a piece of your portfolio, it's okay to trim some and just you can let it ride, but just trim some along the way. That's the way I do it. I mean, you can do it however you want, but definitely ride your winners. And there's not all winners. A lot of people have DMing me and texting me and just saying, I'm making a lot of money, blah blah blah. But we know a lot of people who are struggling too, who haven't been able to identify the trend early and who haven't been able to identify, the leading stocks, and they're struggling. So it's not that easy, folks. We're doing pretty well. We're in the right stocks, but yeah, it's not that easy. All right, I've got to go back. I missed something. But anyway, this is another stock that I own, just becoming the larger part of the portfolio up here at 235 after hours. And then OKLO is another one. Like I say, just own one of these. OKLO is doing fine. SMR, another one, just making new highs, 52-week highs, NNE. Now, this one's more in a base, right? So if you wanted to buy one, you want to buy it tighter to the moving average, NNE would probably be a better opportunity for you. A little slower mover, it looks like there, tighter daily ranges. I wanted to show AEVA because this is one that I put on the ready list last night, and it popped nicely, 11% today. And yeah, this is kind of I didn't have a really a spot for this. This is LiDAR, right? For these, they use LiDAR in the robo taxis. Use LiDAR in the driverless cars. They use them in a lot of different, robots. A lot of different areas use this LiDAR. So this one made a high at 38, pulled back, undercut the 21, and I put it on the ready list. because it looked like it was ready to blast above. But you always have to like I say, you have to show me, right? 2780 was the high yesterday. So nice day today for AEVA, but I wouldn't sell it. I think it's got a bigger move ahead. I mean, obviously you could trim some, but I would say that, maybe back up to that 34, 35 level would be a nice move from that 28 area. All right. Now that I mentioned that, I went through the energy stock software. Got to mention software. Palantir, to me, there's like three main software groups. Palantir, if you have this one, just let it run. That was the pullback right there to 128. And if you didn't get it there, it's getting a little extended now, but still 148.22 would be a buy area. I would just let that one run. Same with Oracle. It's just strong stock. And I think with these, you got to look at all time frames. This one broke out after earnings. It had 1 week where it pulled back, then blasted higher. And last week pulled back, just an inside week, pretty much. Looks like maybe not an inside week, but a quiet week. And then this week, making new highs again. And the last one is Roblox. I mean, these three are just, I mean, there's not much to say here. The chart says it all, right? Just surfing the five, a little bit extended from the five now, but my buds were saying it's a blow off top climax. And that's why I don't play that game. I don't try to predict. Just take it day by day. And if this thing wants to crash and burn, let it. But you can always sell it. There's no reason to do anything here, right? This is what I mentioned at the top. When you got a trend like you have in the Nasdaq and these winners are just riding their moving averages, one of the hardest things to do is just let them work. I get it. Though if you bought this thing here at 63 and now it's doubled, and you had a 10% position, it's probably a huge position in your portfolio now. So, I get the trim part, which I mentioned earlier. A couple of the fintech names, Dave, pull back below its 50 here, now trying to rally back above. I like it above the 50, which was 210 today. So, like you say, if you're from Missouri, you got to show me, and it hasn't done that yet, even though it was up nearly 7% today. It had a nice hard fall there. So yeah, lots of profit taking in that one. The other one is SEZL, which is didn't even pull back to its 50. It rejected it to 21 today, so take note of that with the short-term moving averages curling lower. Yeah, that kind of looks like core weave, which I'll get to in a minute, I believe. Yeah, might as well since I mentioned it. Another software name. I talked about this yesterday, how people are getting excited about CoreWeave, but the moving averages are turned down, right? And it ran up to the 21 yesterday and got rejected today. So to me, CoreWeave it's in between the 50 and the 21. It's just not a compelling stock. I didn't short it, but I wouldn't, I'm just in a void, okay? So I know some of my friends get mad at me because I was a fanboy when he was doing this, but I'm not a fan of that. So I'm a front runner. I'll be the first to admit it. I don't marry these things. I like stocks going higher. I hate stocks going lower. How about that? All right, a couple others. Quickly now, Toast, I put on our Reddit list this morning. Hey, it was up three something percent. I did not buy this. I did, mention yesterday or earlier in the week how it's trading tight within the base, near a moving average, and I like that. It's shown the ability to move, not trading sideways forever. So, yeah, Toast I like. Had an upgrade today, Toast and a four, shift four payments. This is a pretty clear cut cup with handle pattern. It was up nearly 3% today too. So I like both of those. I don't own either, but they look good to me. I like consolidation. I don't like stuff like Joby, going up, 15% above their five. That's a little too rich for me. All right, I got to move on. The construction, this is the, data center, the energy build out, right? I don't really know what exactly where this is leading to, but construction stocks are doing well. STRL. Power, Quanta Services, PWR, this was downgraded today. Downgraded and it was up 2.25%. Make note of that. This thing doesn't want to go down. And yeah, when a stock goes up on a downgrade, that's something that I take note of. The other ones in this group that are showing relative strength is Road making new highs, breaking out of a base here. That one looks fantastic. Should have had that one on my ready list, but I didn't. And it's not too late though. I mean, if you haven't bought it, I mean, just you can put it on your watch list and watch it. It's still 3.7% above that five. So let that five catch up. Maybe tomorrow it'll rest, and next week it'll offer us a buy point. All right. And then TPC, which is Tudor Perini. This is up, just making new highs, just trending along the five, just quietly. Nobody talks about this stock. And when I posted, people, there's just crickets. Nobody wants anything to do with it. All right, I'm going to go to the drug land here. Uh, it's Ligand Pharmaceuticals up. It's a thin stock, but making new highs. Once again, the drug stocks are hated, and I I post drug stocks. Nobody says anything. A 13% move this week, so very nice. I'm going to continue to show INSM because I think there's going to be some news here within the next 3 or 4 weeks, and if it's favorable, this thing's really going to jump. So you could either play it with some calls, dated calls, or just buy the stock. I think it's going to be fine. A couple others that I like in the group, BBIO. A nice little wedge pattern back to the moving average there. That one looks good. And OCUL, this one's been on a heater, just trending along the five. So some drug stocks are doing well. Not a lot of them, but a few. A few gems, right? Sanmina, this group, the electrical contracting manufacturing group, is just super strong. Top 10 group, Sanmina just grinding higher. Flex Ltd. I guess it used to be Flextronics, now Flex Ltd, right? Yeah, new highs. Okay. JBL, they reported after the bell a 1 billion stock buyback program. Yeah, it's up after hours. So that one's just been super strong. CLS is this is one that I like in this group, but it's not, it's doing okay. But the one that's really ramping is TTMI. This is the one that I should have bought and I didn't. But coming out of that base there at $30, 20 cents there, that one looks pretty darn good. Anyway, all right, enough for that group. TTMI, yeah, this is super strong. Oh, there was news out of regarding batteries. U.S. China is still going at it. This one is a QuantumScape battery. You could see this group is awfully strong too. This is up 20% on the news. ENVX, another battery stock, up nearly 6% on the news. And then EOSE was up, nearly 5% on the news today. This one's still consolidating here, but anyway, that's it for me. I'm trying to keep these videos a little more succinct. There's just a lot of stuff going on, a lot of winners, and I want to point out the winners every day. I don't want to look at any losers because if you start looking at losers and you say, hey, maybe I should buy something like this. This used to be a great stock. Well, it's not anymore. Uh, it's floundering down here around 100 level, trying to make a bottom. If you're patient and you could sit through that, yeah, okay. Same with the home builders, Lennar. I mean, these things are just for patient people. That's not me. All right. I digress. Anyway, I just want to say at mcstockcharts.com, we never give up, except in honor of the great Steve Jobs. One more thing. Tonight, all eyes were on Netflix earnings, and they delivered strong earnings. They reported subscriber growth. They raised revenue guidance. I mean, they did pretty much everything you'd want a company to do. The stock has been up a lot, so it's kind of flat after hours. We'll see what happens. This thing is probably going to be bought. It was up, what, $24 today, so for it to give back 10, not a big deal. I don't know. Probably go sideways for a while. Like I say, around earnings, you get some real wonky moves. Now, you could either buy the stock here ahead of earnings, or you could buy the calls, or puts, whatever you want. You could do a straddle for earnings, and if you wanted to get long and you think it's going to be just be ripping higher, you can go NFLU, which is two times Netflix, which is down, to nearly 3% after hours, but we'll see what happens. IBKR also reported after the bell. This one's up 4%. So good news for the finance investment bankers. Maybe that'll help Robinhood tomorrow. 3M reports in the morning. We'll see what they have to say. American Express. reports in the morning. Definitely looking forward to what they have to say, Charles Schwab. So we're getting, to the end of the financials reporting. Most of the reports are pretty good, with the exception of Wells Fargo. Uh, yeah, that's pretty much it after this week for the financials of the big names. LI reports in the morning, and then ALV is another one that reports in the morning. And the other one was Slav, SLB. They report tomorrow morning. Looking forward to that. Hey, that's a nice looking chart. Auto live. Yeah, look at that. Nice cup. Couple weeks of handle. We might have something here. I'm looking forward to this in the morning. This is the same group with the ones that I just mentioned earlier, AEVA, and then OUST is in this group, QuantumScape. Yeah, so maybe Autoliv will deliver a nice quarter, and we can get a little rally tomorrow. Always got to think positive, be positive. Positive things happen to positive people at mcstockcharts.com. We never give up.